Let's start today's topic. It's natural language processing, and we're going to do a basic introductory session on natural language processing here. We'll do a very basic introductory session, and this is a hands-on session on natural language processing. So this will be, or this can be treated as your entry point in writing your code in Python for natural language processing. So I'll take you through various amount of concepts which are very much required for you to get into uh, coding for about natural language processing. So who we are? We are. I'm working with PyTrich, and we are a software development company with 12 years of experience and 100 happy clients, and we have developed more than 130 projects for our 100 clients, and we have a lot of contributions over open source, and I mean, to be precise, like 6+ contributions on open source. Okay, so who am I? So I am Tulok, and I have been working on ML and all these technologies, various cool technologies for the past 7 years. And my recent projects are Microsoft, a garage bot for the Microsoft, and a robotic process automation tool where I developed an intelligent OCR technology for the RPA, or the robotic process automation tool, which captures or converts CAPTCHA into text. And I've been working on blockchain as well, and for which I have developed a reward-based allocation for Microsoft Research. And I parallelly work on a lot of other cool things like LSTM models and RNN models and object recognition and lot of like various amount of things. So this is me. Let's get on to who are the target audience for this particular session. So this session is intended for people basically who are learning NLP, who plan to start NLP, or understand what exactly NLP does, okay, or how a particular computer can actually understand the English statements that you are actually giving. So this is where the target audience should fall under. And if you're planning to convert your existing application in with or adding NLP to that, yeah, this is a place. This is the right place for you. Okay, and we use these tools like you should have Python already installed, or you should have installed Anaconda and Jupyter Notebook for executing the samples along with me here. And NLTK libraries and spatial libraries are to be installed. I hope you have got this email yesterday or today in the morning as a communication. I've sent all the code required to install NLTK and spatial libraries as well. Okay, so let's start with this particular statement. So you may treat this session as a continuation for the last webinar. If you haven't attended, it's okay. If you have attended, yeah, you are on the right place. Yes. So there's a statement like this. Most of us are going somewhere we know. That doesn't mean we should know what to expect. Be careful, look out for each other. This is a fight of our lives, and we are going to win. So whatever it takes, good luck. So what is this, or where is this statement? Any guesses? Any guesses about this particular statement? Okay, all right. So I took the statement because it sounds very reasonable and very near to what we are going through these days. So we're fighting against something very big called as a pandemic, COVID pandemic actually. So I've taken this. Yes, Captain America Endgames. Captain America uses this particular statement to motivate others. Uh, so let's see how does this particular statement be like, how does our algorithms, or how does our work actually evolve and read this particular statement, and can we uh, we can actually go through or use this particular statement in our session completely. So agenda of this particular session is introduction to NLP. So I'll talk about what is NLP and how we are gonna, how is NLP changing the industry, and text operations and regular expressions of this text data that you have. And we talk about a concept called tokenization. We talk about a concept called lemmatization and stemming. We talk about POS taggings and named entity recognitions. So these are concepts inside NLP to actually understand your English statements. So when I talk about this particular statement, so when we apply all this kind of techniques inside this, and we try to derive context out of this particular statement. Okay, so let's move ahead. Natural language processing. So I am talking to you right now, and you can understand me. So there is some kind of uh, power inside you to understand whatever I am talking. So now I replace you with a machine and make sure like the machine understands the same thing. Okay, whatever I am speaking right now, the machine tries to understand the same thing. Okay, so now this is natural language processing. So we are making a machine to understand, or we are making a machine capable of understanding whatever we are talking, whatever humans are talking. Okay, it's not just interpreting, it's like understanding completely end to end. Okay, whatever it should be logical and contextual. Okay, the statements that you're making will be logical for the machine, will be contextual for the machine. For example, I talk about, I have spoken about this particular statement from Endgames. Okay, now you understood, like whenever I gave the statement, since you have watched the movie, you have understood like this statement is from Endgames, and this statement was made by a character called Captain America. Now, when you talk about, when you give the same statement to a machine, will it understand that? Okay, will it understand in what scenario or in what context this statement was uttered by Captain America? Okay, when did Captain America use this actually? Okay, so all this understanding, if a computer can understand it, then you have implemented algorithm in a very precise manner. Okay, so NLP draws its discipline from including computer science and computational linguistics in pursuit of fill the gap between human communication and computer understanding. And your input can be a voice or text. So if a machine is capable of understanding whatever a human reads, okay, that is called as natural language processing, as in a simple way. Okay, and to achieve that we need to follow some set of rules, or you need to follow some basic guidelines, and make your algorithm understand what you are actually speaking, and you need to create a corpus and lot of things. So we will see the basics of this particular process here. We will see the basics of this particular process. May not be the complete process, but we will see the basics. What are the building blocks of that particular process we're going to see here right now. Next, prerequisites. You need to run an Anaconda as an administrator to install these tools basically. So they are to be configured or aligned along with your Anaconda. So please run it as administrator. Don't forget that. And spaCy library, you need to include the spaCy library, which is this library is an English language pack basically. So this actually installs English language on your machine. And later you have NLTK, and NLTK download. This will take some time, where this will install all the libraries that are required for you to run NLTK. Okay, the end-to-end libraries. So I hope these are already installed with you, and let me go ahead. And we will see some textual operations. What are these textual operations, and how do we run them? So I'm switching back to my IDE. I'm switching back to my IDE. This is Jupyter Notebook. I have instantiated this Jupyter Notebook from my Anaconda prompts. Okay, and this Jupyter Notebook is running right now. You may use Anaconda Navigator as well to do this, but in order to start it as an administrator, I've used command prompt to start this. I've started my Anaconda command prompt in administrator mode, which is like very necessary for you to start it. And regarding the agenda, I have imported some libraries here so that I need not bother back importing libraries and all every time. So I've imported a couple of libraries which are very much necessary. NLTK, spaCy, and R stands for regular expressions. So let me run this. Done. And in this IDE, this is the place where you write the code. You have import statements, you have many other codes that you can write your code over here, and you can run using this particular run button. Okay, and Python is an interpreted language, so you can execute statement by statement and understand what is that statement doing, and if any errors were thrown, probably you can go back to that statement, edit back, and cover it up. So this is an interpreted language, and this IDE works very much well for us for our scenarios. And after that, we are downloading some analytical libraries which are important or required for our session today. So these are the three libraries that are more than enough. Okay, the PUNTK, PUNKT, and average perceptron tracker and the stopwords. These three libraries are enough for running our code for today. And if you want to include every library that is possible, probably you can use this statement and download everything that is required for you. Okay, so I'm running this. They are already present in my system. So they're already present here. And later, I'm trying to link up the English language, which I had downloaded for Spacy. Okay, I've downloaded some Spacy library here. English language library, I'm trying to include it here for our operations. Okay, so this is all about the prerequisites that we have for this particular session today. Okay, so I'm going to use these kinds of libraries itself as my session continues. Any questions, anyone until now? There is a question here. Let me answer. Can you send? Yeah, I'll send the code and I'll send the PPT as well after this session. Any more questions? I would recommend people to use the Q&A section instead of chat. Yeah, all right, no questions. All right, so this is a basic print statement in Python. Okay, you can use a single quote or a double quote, and this is a basic print statement here. Let me run this, and it has printed natural language processing. Okay, it's a straight away print statement. Okay, now when you're talking about yes, you can use Mac as well. So when you're talking about processing some text, there can be a scenario that you're supposed to consider some characters or some words in a given sentence. Okay, you're supposed to consider some text or a part of the text, or you are supposed to or identify where exactly Mumbai is present, or where exactly Hyderabad is present, or check whether Hyderabad is present in the text or not. Okay, there can be scenarios this way, or you can actually cross check a list of strings with a group of text. Okay, match any string kind of thing in a group of text, or match if there are any words present in or the list of words if they are present inside the text or not. So these kind of operations are like very common when you're trying to process the text. Okay, for natural language processing, if you're trying to process the text, or if you're trying to match some keywords kind of things and all. So in regards to that, we will understand something called as indexing and slicing. What does this indexing and slicing do or mean? So for example, I take this particular string called language. When I take this particular string called language, how do I actually read this particular, or read the contents inside this particular string, or read the characters inside this particular string is this way. So I run this. Yeah, now the language is actually assigned to this string here, and I read the first character, which is string of 0. So this is the index of this particular index of the character that I'm trying to read here. When I execute this, the output would be L. Okay, the output would be L. L is this first character here. L is the first character here. Now, so what can we infer from here in this particular context is the index of the first character is 0, and from left to right, the index starts from 0 to the length of the string minus 1. The last index of this particular string from left to right is length of the string minus 1. Okay, So it starts from 0. And if you want to read it from the left, we can, sorry, if you want to read it from the right also, we will see what is that. Okay. And see, I tried to print two characters here, string of 2 and string of 5. String of 2 is n and string of 5 is a. Okay, with respect to the index. The third character, which is the index 2, okay, is printed here as n and printed here as 5. And can I check it in the chat section? What does string of 4 print? Probably you may use the chat section right now. What does string of -4 do? Just keep some guess. Okay, an answer is u. Let's see. Any more answers? Please don't use question answers for this. For answering my question, please use the chat section. For asking questions, please use question answer section. Yeah, you people are replying you. Okay, -4 error. All right, I'm waiting for your answers. All right, let's see what happens here. See, it has printed u. Okay, why? When you're trying to read this particular statement from right to left, when you're trying to read this particular from right to left, you should use the minus sign. It's the opposite direction you are trying to read this particular string, and this is the opposite direction. And if you try to print string of -1, what happens? What happens enough? See, it has printed two things. -4 it is u, and -1 it is e. That means e is, this is the only character present, is a single character present inside language. And when you check e, it is the last character for the word called language. That means from when you're trying to read a string from right to left, okay, from right to left, the index starts from -1. When you're trying to read a statement or a string from left to right, the index starts from 0. And when you're trying to read a statement from right to left, it starts from -1. Okay, the reverse way. Okay, so you can read a particular string from the last to first or first to last. Okay, last to first, it is negated. I mean the minus sign because of the reverse direction. From first to last, it is a positive number. And from first to last, the index starts from 0. And from last to first, the index starts from -1. Okay, so this way. Now, this is slicing. Okay, this is slicing. This is how you try to break a particular string or a statement, whatever it is. Okay, this is how you break a particular statement and extract the contents of it. So here the statement written a string of 0:2. So what does this statement do? Can someone answer in the chat for me? Okay, LA is one answer. LA, okay, capital L and A, all right, LA. All right, so let's run this and check what does it print. See, it has printed LA. So it starts from 0. So you have asked for the index of 0, okay, and after that you have asked for index 2 until here. Index 2 is n, but it doesn't include. Okay, I have written here it doesn't include the index basically. So you will get LA as the answer here. Okay, you'll get LA as the answer here. And there is another statement, print string of 1:4. So what does this give? 1:4 do for us? A and G. Okay, A and G. All right, super. So I hope you are understanding how does this operation, string operations work. Yes, everybody is correct right now. And the answer is A and G. Okay, string colon 4. Okay, this gives A and G as an output. Okay, now I have a statement like this. Hello world, I am Chitti the robot. Okay, and I want to remove the asterisks present in this particular whole statement. Okay, when I run this statement called print statement or step of asterisk, what does this do? What does this statement do? Just keep a guess. You need not be an expert in answering. Removes asterisk from both the ends, removes all asterisks. Okay. Yeah, let us run and check this. See, it has removed asterisks, but it hasn't removed the asterisk in between. Okay, it hasn't removed the asterisk in between. Basically, what happens here is this particular state, the strip function will actually trim both the ends. It will trim both the ends of this particular statement. Okay, it has trimmed until it has got alphabetical character, and at the end also it has trimmed the same way. Okay, and it hasn't touched anything about the asterisk in between. Okay, this is what strip does. And if you don't mention any kind of symbol or any kind of bird or whatever it is here, this will remove spaces. This will simply remove spaces. Okay, if there is a space here, it will remove, or if there is space here, it will remove. It will not touch anything in between again. Okay, so this is gonna remove spaces if it doesn't carry, or if the strip function is not passed by any kind of parameter. Okay, so this is what strip does. I'll convert this back into the asterisk and I run it once again. Yes. Okay, now check this next method. Okay, next method is about join. What does this join do? What does this join do? Join adds two strings. Okay, join adds two strings. So what am I asking over here is, I gave one statement here called lucky.happy, and I'm asking to join this string one and string two with this lucky.happy. Okay, and see how does this particular operation, how is this operation performed? Okay, see, good luck, happy journey. So what had happened is this particular statement is present in between the string one and string two. It came in between, or it appeared, or it got joined in between this string one and string two. Let us test this. Let us test this. Let us get more understanding on this. I write some statement called hello now. I write some statement called hello. How does this join? Just keep some guess in the chat section. I'm trying to join lucky.happy with three strings. Yeah. Now you may start guessing and put that answer in the chat section. All right. So let me once execute this, run, and see what had happened. This luck.happy is placed between string one and string two, and it's again placed between string two and hello. Okay. So you're using this particular statement or the provided statement called lucky.happy to join or to place it over here and place it over here. Okay, so the string one and string two are joined by this word called lucky.happy or the statement called lucky.happy, and string two and string three are joined by this statement called lucky.happy. Okay, so you are placing this given statement in between both of these. For example, I want to just join good journey. How do I write that? Can someone give me the code? I just want to join good journey. That's it. I don't want anything else in my statement. Okay, enough. Give an example, or how do you write this code in Python? Just give me that statement in the chat. Yes. Okay, any more answers? Any more answers? I'm waiting for answers, more answers. Okay. All right. So an answer I got over here is, a double quotes dot join string str. So this is the answer I got. Double quotes dot join. So str1 comma str2. This is one answer I got, and another answer that I got is, let's execute all these and check how does this work. Check these two statements. One is good journey and the other is good space journey. Okay, these are the two answers that I got. So this is a way that you can join two strings. Okay, this is a way that you can join two strings. Okay, all right. So I have got some questions here. All right, these are the answers here. Good, good, nice. Give empty string in the space. Yeah, lucky, happy. All right. So please use the chat section to actually give me answers. And when you have questions, please post them in the question answer section. Yes. So let's go back to PPT. We have seen like all the demos that I've mentioned here. And one important thing is the regular expressions. Okay, these regular expressions are really, really important. Okay, very, very important when you are trying to do the text processing. Okay, in regular expressions, for example, you're trying to get some string, or you're trying to identify some phone number inside a address. Okay, you have some postal address and you're trying to verify whether he has written a phone number or not in his postal address. Okay, so you will check for a 10-digit number. Okay, you should not just stop at checking like whether it is a number or not. It can be a zip code or a pin code. Okay, it can be a zip code or a pin code. You need a phone number, so it's 10 characters. Okay, the phone number is present in 10 characters, so you may probably run this address over this regular expression. You can create a regular expression and run it over that. Okay, so then you can identify if it returns true, then you can actually tell like, yes, there is a match found. If you don't find that, yeah, no match found and no phone number is present. So the user should actually enter the phone number as well along with the address. And these are some common functions. Okay, match, search, find all, find iterable, and sub. Okay, so substring or find or check in an iterative way. Okay, if a match is found, also don't stop, just keep searching. And search and match, these are all like some common functions inside regular expressions. You can simply use it in this particular format, re.match. Okay, r is small letter. We have imported this re library, right? So using that, we can go with this re.match and start using this match function. Okay, pattern comma statement is the one. You need to write some pattern comma statement. Okay, this will actually get you a match or not. So true or false is the output of this. Okay, this way. And a character set, this is how you actually write your regular expressions. So I'm not going to go in detail about these regular expressions because it will simply take like 1 hour or 1.5 hours if I start talking about regular expressions. So I'm not going to go in depth, but I'll give you an overview of how a regular expression is formed and all. Okay, so character set, when you talk about this character set, you have some characters to be included. Okay, for example, you're trying to identify if some ABC is present inside a string or not. Okay, in your name, for example, Mohit. So if you want to find out whether ABC is present in this particular word called Mohit, you will use simply square bracket followed by ABC. Okay, so then it will match for try to match at least one character is present in the given string or not, and it will return true or false accordingly. Okay, and this is for small ABCs or lowercase letters, and this can be used for lowercase and uppercase letters. And A to Z, this is a range of characters in lowercase. Okay, this is for the lowercase range, and this for the uppercase range. This is for both lowercase and uppercase range, and this is for numericals. Okay, and these character set can also be written using this particular formats. Okay, using this particular formats. Okay, so they are called meta sequences, and for digits you may probably go with /d. For if you don't want a digit inside it, okay, for example, you're giving your name, okay, in your name it should not contain any digits, so you can go with not digits, and you can use a meta character called /d. Okay, instead of writing this whole, you can simply replace it with /D, okay, or uppercase D. Similarly for your words also, okay. Or if you want to, if you're planning to get some, special characters, read some special characters. So this way you are supposed to write, okay. So you don't want anything in between this, so you can write simply, or you can mention simply /W, okay, or uppercase W, okay. This way we have regular expressions. Okay, so I'll actually share a separate Jupyter notebook just only for regular expressions, and that Jupyter notebook clearly explains everything inside regular expressions. So, okay, so any questions? Any questions right now? You may use the Q&A section for asking any questions now. Okay, what does this indicate? Probably we'll check for this later, maybe. We are not dealing with regular expressions in depth right now. Probably drop your email ID as well, so that, or drop us on our email ID, so we'll clearly give you an understanding on this. Any more questions apart from the regular expressions, because I haven't explained that in detail right now? All right. So let's get on to the next topic called tokenization. Let's get on to the next topic called tokenization. So whenever I give some statement, or let's go back to our old statement here. Whenever I try to give this particular statement to you, okay, I am asking you to actually, split this particular statement into words. Okay, split this particular statement into words. So can some of you mention a few words present in this particular statement? I'll be looking inside the chat. So can some of you mention some words present in this particular statement? Okay, give me a group of words, not just single word. Like at least give me some 3 to 4 words in this. Fight lives, good luck. Yes, whatever. Okay. We fight lives, whatever it takes. So you're actually giving me statements. You're not giving me words here. You're giving me statements again. You're giving me, or adding, subsets of statements, and you're giving me. All right. So let me go back to the notebook, and let me show you of that. Okay, I have the same statement taken here. I have the same statement taken here, and I'm trying to tokenize this particular statement. I'm trying to tokenize this particular statement. Okay, I'm trying to tokenize. So I'll convert this particular statements into individual tokens. Then you will understand what is tokenization. Okay, so let me run this set of code. Oops. Oh, sorry, this was not run. All right. So let me run this now. See what had happened. I tried to print all the tokens as text, and this is what I get. And if you observe this particular statement here, okay, so come here, we have a statement like this called we know, comma. We have a statement here called we know, comma, and if you observe here, we know. Okay, sorry, no, comma. No is a token and comma is a token. Okay, and if you observe this particular statement called doesn't, and check here, doesn't is converted into two tokens, does and not. Okay, but when you actually do a normal split, or when you try to break this particular whole statement into individual words, okay, what you will do is you will parse over the space character, right? You will parse over the space character. So you, until you find the space character, you will treat that as a single word. Okay, so most would be a word, off would be a word, us would be a word, and so on. No would be a word, no comma, you will take comma also, you'll consider comma also along with no. You will take doesn't along with does. Okay, so that keeps on going, until the end of the statement. Okay, that keeps on going until the end of the statement. But tokenizer actually divides them a bit intelligently. It even considers a punctuation called full stop. It even considers this full stop as the next token, as a new token. Okay, so these are all individual tokens. Okay, this is what a tokenizer does. Tokenizer is breaking the raw text into small chunks. Tokenization breaks the raw text into word sentences called tokens, and we call them as individual tokens, and help in understanding the context or developing the model for NLP. So this particular tokens are very useful for us to understand the context of this particular statement. Okay, so we'll try to match this with set of statements or set of or the corpus that we already have, and understand what this particular user is trying to tell us. Okay, so this tokenization will actually break this particular whole statement into tokens. Okay, nothing but words. You can precisely call them as words, but we should call them as tokens. And this tokens will help us understand the inner lying meaning of this particular whole sentence. Okay, so that is meant by tokenization. Next is stemming. So what is this stemming? So what is meant by stemming? Yes. Okay. So I'm talking, I keep on talking right now. So when I'm uttering the word called talking, okay, I get this particular word called talking, and I want to understand what is this root word called root of this word called talking. Where does this, where did this word called talking arrive from? Okay, so when you try to drill down that, you will understand like, okay, talking is a continuous form of the word called talk. Okay, now what exactly the stemming does is the same. It tries to understand what is the root word of the given word. Okay, what is the root word of the given word? Okay, so in the screen, there is something mentioned called branched, branching, and branches. So for all these three things, okay, for all these three words called branched, branching, and branches, the root word is branch itself. Okay, the root word is branch itself. Okay, so we will use our NLTK library right now to understand how does the stemmer work. Okay, how does this stemmer or stemming work? Okay, in stemming, we commonly use two stemmers. One is a Potter stemmer and another is a snowball stemmer. Okay, there are a lot of other stemmers as well. Okay, there are a lot of other stemmers as well, and we use either a Potter stemmer or a snowball stemmer in most of the cases. So after stemming, what happens, and let's see the procedure of stemming and how does the stemming work. Okay, let me run this whole set of code and explain you later. See, this has divided into set of tokens, and you can sorry, this is the first or the words that I've selected is the actual statement, and the words that or the output that I haven't selected is the part after stemming. So if you observe here, most is most itself, off is off, us is us, r is r, going has converted into go. Okay, going is like from one place to another place, from somewhere to somewhere. Going is like a continuous task, and the root of this particular word is go. Okay, and somewhere, if you observe here, somewhere e is stripped off. Okay, e is stripped off here. We will understand, or we will talk about it why. Okay, and v is v, no is no, comma is comma, that is that, does is converted into doe, does is converted into doe, and later what is converted into what is what itself, expect, be careful, careful is converted into care. Just observe here, careful is converted into care, out for each other, this is converted into thi, this is converted into thi. Okay, lives is converted into live. Okay, we are going is go again, and whatever is what ev, whatever is what ev, takes is take, and see, so these are converted right now. The words that are present as going, somewhere, doesn't, does, basically does, uh, going, and all lives, all these are converted into their base forms, or they call them as base forms. So we got some as correct and some as wrong. When you talk about somewhere, somewhere is itself a word, it cannot be further drilled down, that's the base format of that particular word. But this particular stemmer actually gave something called uh, SOMEWHER. E is missing again, so it has stripped down that particular e from the word called somewhere. Okay, why is this happening? We have used a stemmer called Potter stemmer here. Okay, we have used a stemmer called Potter stemmer. So what does this Potter stemmer do is, it is actually built upon some rules. Okay, this Potter stemmer is actually built upon some rules, and these it is a rule-based stemmer, to be precisely called. This is a rule-based stemmer, and this particular rule-based stemmer directly applies the rules over the given tokens. Okay, so if you observe here, I'll explain the code right now. So we have imported the Potter stemmer here with the word tokenizer, and we have imported the Potter stemmer, and we have considered the statement here again. Okay, and we have converted this into the lowercase. We have converted the whole statement into lowercase, and from the lowercase, I try to tokenize them and print the words. Okay, I have tokenized. So what does this tokenization mean is, this converts the given statement into tokens. That means individual words. Okay, so after tokenizing, I ran the stemmer over the list of words. I ran the stemmer over the list of words. This is a list of words. I've printed the words here, and I ran the stemmer on this particular words. Okay, and I have printed the list which is present in the word stem. Okay, that's it. I've printed the list in the list called word stem. Now these are the two lists. Okay, these are the two lists, and this stemmer is a rule-based stemmer. Okay, it is on specific rules. It doesn't care about what is the output. Okay, it simply performs stemming operation uh, on the given sentence or the given set of words just by blind rules. Okay, and this is developed somewhere in 1980s, and this is not so effective for people. Okay, this has been considered as like not so effective. This comes into picture only for a very low instances, and this cannot be used throughout ever. Okay, so for that they started developing another stemmer called snowball stemmer. They've started developing another stemmer called snowball stemmer, and they have given more rules apart from the Potter stemmer here. Okay, they have added more rules, so they made the library or the corpus big for snowball stemmer, and there are a lot of other stemmers as well. Okay, so what happened in the snowball stemmer is they have given ability to read in a lot of languages, and these are the list of languages that they have given the ability. So if you have these many languages, you can simply use the snowball stemmer over there to actually stem or to convert or to identify the base form of a given word. Okay, so if you take this particular example, okay, I am considering this Spanish stemmer over here, and there is some word like this, okay, tribajando. It is called as tribajando, and tribaj is the stem word of this particular word called tribajando. Tribajando means working, and this is work. Okay, this way you can, I mean, use any other languages as well. Okay, a lot of other languages as well, which are listed over here for snowball stemmer. And this is like an addition. This has got an addition. Snowball stemmer is an extension for the existing stemmer called Porter stemmer. Okay, so, or the snowball stemmer can also be called as Porter 2 stemmer. Okay, or this is a second version of the Porter stemmer. So any questions in or any understandings or any doubts in this tokenization and stemming part? Any doubts in this tokenization and stemming part? So don't understand the use of stemmer. Okay, so stemmer, when you try to convert it into the base form of the existing word, okay, so working, you convert that into work. Now this work will give you the context of it, the meaning of it. Okay, that is the basic use of a stemmer. Okay, that is the basic use of a stemmer. So it tries to give the proper meaning of the word given over there. Okay, so we try to convert the existing statements in existing statements or the words into their base forms and try to understand the context where this particular word is being used. Any more questions? All right. So let's move on to the next part called lemmatization. If you have any questions, yeah, you're good to ask me anytime. Just keep posting them in the Q&A section. Lemmatization. So this lemmatization is like somewhere related, some or other way related to stemming itself. It looks almost same for stemming. Okay, it looks almost same as stemming itself. Okay, so if you observe here, there is an example here called original word and lemmatized word. So original word is goose and the lemmatized word is also goose. The original word is geese and the lemmatized word is goose. So if you observe here, this is the singular form of goose and this is the plural form of goose. And after lemmatization, this has been converted into goose. Okay, so this can be done with stemmers as well. Okay, this can be done with stemmers as well, trying to get the root form of the word. But when you run this through a stemmer like a snowball stemmer or a Porter stemmer, what happens is the E in the end gets chopped off. Okay, so when you run this snowball stem, the Porter stemmer or the snowball stemmer on goose, it will be like GOOS. The stemmed word would be GOOS, and for this it is GEES. E will be chopped off, as simple. Okay, so when you talk it or take it through the lemmatization, okay, it actually gets the correct form of this particular word. Or lemmatization, you can talk it like the mature form of your stemming. Okay, it's like more mature form of your stemming. Okay, let's see a sample on lemmatization as well. So I have the statement again. I got back to the same statement that we were talking about, loading this particular statement and running it through a lemmatizer. See what happened here. I try to print three things. One is the text that I have considered, and POS. Let's talk about this POS and lemma of that particular word. In tokenization, what you have done is you are talking about tokens. You have a statement and exact replica. You try to break that particular statement into the exact replica without doing any other operations. you call that as token. But here in lemmatization, we call that as lemma. Lemma is the base form of that particular word. Okay, lemma is nothing but the base form of that particular word. For example, see, most of us pronoun are p. Going is converted into go. Going is converted into go here, and that way it keeps on. So it actually converts. Takes is converted into take. Okay, going is converted into go. R is converted into B. Okay, is, are, and all these things will be converted into B, actually the base form of that. Okay, so this is called as lemma right now. Okay, this most is called as lemma. This off is called as lemma, or going is converted into go right now, and this is called the lemma of going. Okay, and if you observe here, there is something called verb. There is something called PRON. There is something called verb, PUNCT, DET, all that. So these are parts of speech of this particular words present over here. These are the parts of speech of this particular words given. Okay, or the lemma states. Okay, so most is an adjective, us is a pronoun here, and are is an auxiliary verb, and going is a verb here. We is a pronoun, no is a verb, comma is a punctuation. It has identified comma as a punctuation. Okay, that is a determinant and keeps on going. It keeps on going. Okay, these are the parts of speech of this. So a lemmatizer will give you a lot of things, and among them we have got the text, original text here, the parts of speech of this particular word, and lemma value. Okay, or the lemma of the given word. Okay, so all these are like very crucial for us to understand the context of the statement. Okay, to actually understand the context of this particular statement. And this lemmatizer actually uses the dictionaries. Okay, so when you try to run this lemmatizer, actually, so it tries to get the base word from the dictionary here. It doesn't do a rule-based mechanism. It doesn't go with a rule-based mechanism. It goes with it actually goes with the dictionary. Okay, it will consider the English language. So we have actually mentioned here called load-en, right? So this load-en is actually loading this particular statement in English language, and this will run over the dictionary and try to identify the base form. So when you consider a stemmer, any kind of stemmer, they run through rules. They run through some set of rules, okay, which might not be common for every scenario, or which cannot be applied for every scenario. There can be some corner cases. You can't run the stemmers on corner cases, but in a lemmatizer, this lemmatizer runs over a dictionary. This lemmatizer runs over a dictionary. So you can trust this lemmatizer most of the cases, not every case also, in most of the cases. And one thing that I don't guarantee again here is you might not get the same, parts of speech every time you try to use a lemmatizer. All parts of speech you have over here need not be correct for that particular context. Need not be correct for that particular context. And reiterating again, all the parts of speech that you get over here need not be correct for the given context. Okay, I'll let you know why. Okay, and let us actually run through these differences. A stemmer can operate on a single word without knowledge of the context. Okay, so here the context comes later, we get the word. Okay, in stemmer, the context comes after we get the word. Okay, and therefore cannot discriminate between words which have different meanings depending upon parts of speech. Okay, so you cannot trust this particular stemmer every time, as simple as that. Okay, and while converting any word to the root or a base word, stemming can create non-existent work, but lemmatization creates actual dictionary words. So in the above example, we might have seen something called this statement, some WHER. Okay, if you go and search for this exact word, probably you might not find it in the dictionary. Okay, you might not find this in the dictionary. So stemmers are creating non-existing words in the dictionaries, but lemmatizers do not do that because that refers to a dictionary while creating the base form of the words. And stemmers are typically easier to implement than lemmatizers. Yes, lemmatizers are a bit difficult to implement. Okay, that's why very small kind of approaches use stemmers actually. Okay, stemmers run faster than lemmatizers because they are just rules. Okay, stemmers are just rules, but limitizer works over a huge corpus of dictionary. Okay, the accuracy of stemming is less than limitization, obviously. Okay, stemming is something like if-else conditions. If you understand if-else conditions, that is what stemming does. But when you talk about limitization, it's actually a program running over a dictionary. Okay, limitization is better than stemming and informative to find. Yeah, stemming limitization gives us a lot of information and also to determine the parts of speech around the word. That's why Spacy has limitization and not stemming. So we will do limitization with Spacy. Okay, so we have considered the Spacy library over here to perform limitization. Okay, so Spacy doesn't contain limitization, sorry, stemming. Spacy contains only limitization. For this reason, stemming is not so accurate. Stemming doesn't give more amount of information about that particular statements. Okay, stemming gives only a very brief intro, not a detailed introduction about that particular statement. Whereas limitization gives us more introduction, more concepts about that particular statement. Okay, any questions? Stemma/limitization only changes the verb, right? Then why whatever is changed to whatever? See, it's not just verb. Akshita, it's not about verb changing into the base form. It can be plural to singular as well. It can be plural into singular. It can be anything. It tries to identify the base form of that. Okay. Right. So next is stop words. Next is stop words. So, or I have a couple of slides here. Demo of lemmatization using Spacy, and see. Yeah, here, when you talk about stemming over the word called change, it is converted into CHANG, is stripped off from this particular word. And changing is a verb, changes is not a verb. If you understand here, changes is not a verb. Okay, sorry, it's a form. And changed is a form of the verb, and changer is not again, not a verb. Okay, and the root form of this particular changer is also CHANG. Okay, when you use a stemmer, but when you use limitization, okay, so all these forms, all these words get converted into change. All these words get converted into change. Okay, because this is a root form, root word exactly. Okay, and this is a rule-based one, and this is limitization is a dictionary-based one. Okay, so let's deal with the stop words. So what are the stop words and what happens inside? Why are the stop words necessary for us? Okay, so basically what happens is we have some statement, or we have the existing statement from which was used by Captain America in the end games. So in that, to understand that, there are a lot of other words that come in between which are not really necessary for me to uh, use while trying to derive the meaning or context of that particular statement. Okay, so such kind of words like is, am, da, for, all these are, words which are common in every language. Okay, sorry, common in every statement that you come across. Okay, some conjunctions and all that are like most common words, but they don't really give me more context of this particular statement. If I remove that also, I can get some meaning out of it. Okay, I can try to identify the context out of it. So they are just added between for a human to understand, not really for a computer to actually gather the context of it. Okay, so those words are stop words. They are like the most common words in the particular language. Okay, so there is an example here. When you talk about Geeks for Geeks, a computer science portal for geeks. And when you try to remove this stop words from this, okay, it is geek for geeks. Yes, this is not a common word. And A is a common word, so it was removed. And computer science is not so common. Computer science, portal, these are not so common, so they were stayed back. And fur is a common word, removed. And geeks again is not a common word. Can listening be exhausting? Okay, listening and exhausting are non-common words. Okay, so stop words are can and be over here, which were removed. Okay, and I like reading, so I read. So I and I is are the two words. Sorry, I, and so. These are the three words present in this particular statement. I like reading. So removing the stop words is like removing the words that need not be necessary for you to understand the context. Okay, like reading, read. So this is the word which will be considered for further processing. Okay, so when you were given with a set of words or set of statements and you are trying to identify the context out of it, first you need to reduce your burden. Okay, first you need to reduce your burden, and from there you need to process it. So reducing the burden is removing some words from it which are not really adding much value over there. We remove the stop words. I'll let you know like end of the statement, end of the why is this necessary? Why is this removing stop words necessary? Okay. So demo for stop words. Let's go back to our code and see. Stop words. There is no particular set that, okay, this is a confined set of stop words. You can't tell like, okay, these are the only stop words present in English, or these are the only stop words present in French, or some other language. Okay, so stop words depends upon the corpus of words that you're taking or the libraries that you're taking. SpaCy might have a different set of stop words and NLTK might have different set of stop words. Now I'm considering the stop words from NLTK library over here. Okay, so I run this statement here. I run this statement and I'll get a list of stop words that are available in this particular NLTK library. Okay, these are some of the stop words that NLTK considers and removes them basically, and removes them. Okay, and if you go, if I try to execute this, I'll explain this code in a while. See, word tokens and filtered tokens. This is the exact statement, and this is the filtered statement. The unselected output is the filtered statement. The selected output is whatever we gave it as an input. Okay, we have printed two things. One is the word tokens and filtered tokens. Okay, so when you consider this and try to examine with the existing or the given statement, you understand like most is retained, off is removed. Off is removed, and after off we have us. R is also removed. Going is going itself. Somewhere is somewhere itself. V is removed. No is present. Comma is present. That is removed. Does is also removed. That is removed. Does is also removed. Not is not removed. Mean, no, and so on and so on. Okay, so you find like a lot of words missing right now after we have the filtered statement. After we have the filtered statement, or after we remove the stop words from the given statement, we are like staying back with this words. Okay, rest of the words, so-called stop words, are removed by using this NLTK library. Okay, if you observe, you can find off in this particular list. See, this is off. Off is present in this particular list, or R is also not present in the output for us. So you will have R somewhere here. R is here. Okay, so it simply runs over this particular stop words and removes the stop words from the sentence and gives us. Okay, now understand, or let's go into the code. Okay, I've taken a tokenizer again. I've taken a tokenizer and said, got the statement. This is a sentence that I'm trying to take, and I'm trying to get the set of stop words in English. Okay, set of is like, unique set, like the characters inside it doesn't repeat, or the words inside it doesn't repeat. Okay, So you'll have like the count of each word present in this particular thing is one only, as simple as that. And word tokens is equals tokenize of example sentence. So I'm trying to tokenize this particular statement first. That means I'm trying to convert this particular statement into individual tokens. Okay, individual tokens, and I'm running or comparing whether the word, if the word is present inside the token or not, or whether the word is present, whether the token is present inside the stop word or not. If it is present in the stop word, I'm not gonna use it. If it is not present in the stop word, I'm gonna transfer it to something called as a filtered sentence. Okay, and I keep on appending it to the filtered sentence, the tokens, and I am printing the final statements along with the word tokens that I have. Okay, now what happened is I'm trying to check whether the stop words are present in my statement or not. If they are present, I'm trying to remove them and retain the other part of the sentence. Okay, simply just remove the stop words like these. Okay, just remove the stop words like this and just gather the whole context. Okay, so that is called, that is the concept of stop words. So any questions in this? Any questions in this stop words? Any questions in the stop words? Okay, keep asking me questions if you have. I'll just proceed on to the next concept, POS tagging. So we were talking about parts of speech when we were talking about lemmatization. Okay, this is also the same thing. Okay, parts of speech tagging is like identifying the parts of speech of a particular word. Okay, particular word in this particular statement. For example, there is a statement like this. Okay, the highlighted one. There is a statement like this: give me your answer. Okay, here answer is a noun. I'm like asking you, okay, just tell me what your answer is. Okay, but when in this particular statement called answer the question, that means I'm trying to ask you like to do some activity here. Okay, for a given question that I'm doing, I'm trying to do some activity. Okay, so this answer is a verb, while in the first statement the answer is a noun. Okay, so this parts of speech tagging, POS tagging, will actually help out to understand the parts of speech of that particular word. Okay, so let me run this code and identify these are the parts of speech available. Okay, these are different parts of speech, and what this parts of speech means, this is the document for that. Okay, so it's not just like 6 or 7 as in your English language. We have more amounts of parts of speech in our machine learning. So we have a determinant, this, that, the, and all, and we have a noun which is singular noun, or we have a plural noun, and then P is the plural noun. Okay, and proper noun, proper noun plural basically. Okay, and it goes on conjunctions. Okay, CC stands for conjunctions, and verb VB. Okay, verb in the past form. Okay, so some doing kind of activities, or did kind of activities, kind of things. Okay, adjectives, adverbs. Okay, all these prepositions, personal pronouns. Okay, I, she, they kind of. Okay, so this way we have like lots of parts of speech, and this POS tagger from the NLTK library, this POS tagger from the NLTK library will help us identify that. Okay, will help us identify these kinds of tags. Okay, so any questions in this? Why are we having two things? Lematizer also does this POS tagging, and why do we want why do we need a POS tagger again? Okay, the first difference I can talk about here is Lematizer is present that we have used this from Spacy library, and this POS tagging I'm talking it from the analytical library. If you have observed, that's the first thing. Okay, so not all the libraries will have everything. So some has their own concepts. Okay, that's the first thing. And second thing, all the lemmatizers will not give you a proper parts of speech. Okay, they might not be correct. So you require a specific concept of POS tagging again. Okay, you need something in specific called POS tagger over here. Okay, so they will give us accurate parts of speech of the particular word. And I'm talking about accurate, it need not be real as well. Okay, sometimes this can be also misleaded. Now, to understand this, we have a scenario to identify the parts of speech. Okay, we try to identify the word formation or the sentence formation, and a sentence should contain these many kinds of parts of speech to get a proper context. Okay, so a sentence should actually contain these kinds of parts of speech to create a proper context. That we will run, we will actually train an algorithm for that, and we will try to run our algorithm over the given sentence, and we will try to identify or correct the existing parts of speech with new parts of speech. Okay, this is an extension completely. This is not parts of speech is not this much, or POS tagging is not this much. It has got a very big amount of extension to understand more about like how is it happening and all. Okay, if you find some parts of speech to be like not correct, if you find some parts of speech to be not correct in the given list, okay, then you can extend that and you can train your algorithm to identify what is the parts of speech of the given statement. Okay, so that's a completely different scenario which we are not concentrating for enough. Okay, so any questions here? Any questions? All right. So I take it no fun enough, and let me go to the next part, or the last concept called named entity recognition. Okay, named entity recognition. Okay, so what this named entity recognition does is it tries to identify entities, specific entities present in the given statement. For example, in the image over here, you can see India. India is treated as GPE, or Google is treated as an organization, and Steve Jobs is considered as a person, and Aman Karwal is considered as a person. So this named entity recognition tries to identify locations, tries to identify if any people names are present, or any location coordinates are present, or any date is present. Okay, so this NER, or named entity recognition, will actually help us understand the entities present inside, or the actors or players present inside a particular statement. Okay, actors or players present inside a particular statement. So let's go back to our code and let's try to identify that. Okay, now I'm using a different statement here for purposefully. I'm using a different statement here called I'm living in India and studying in IIIT. Okay, I have a statement like this. And can someone try to identify what are the entities present inside this? And give it to me over the chat. Okay, India, IIT, IIIT. Yes, nice answers. Yeah, so there are entities over here. When I run this particular statement, I get one entity called India only. Okay, here IIIT is not registered probably. See, we are using Spacy again here. We have gone back to Spacy, and Spacy might not have IIIT or IIT in their corpus to consider that as an IIT, that as an entity. Okay, so if you observe here, India is an entity. Yes, it has recognized that as a country. Okay, and IIIT is not actually recognized as a entity right now here. Okay, so you actually need to run, or train your algorithm, train your Spacy library, okay, to understand IIIT also as an entity here. Okay, we need to do that particular training here. Okay, here India and IIIT are entities, but the basic Spacy library do not contain IIIT inside its corpus, or it doesn't have a definition for it. Okay, it might have a definition for Google, it might have a definition for Microsoft. Okay, but here in this particular library, it doesn't have a definition for SQLite. For that reason, it did not recognize IIIT as an entity here. It has only recognized India as an entity. Okay, so this is just one example, and you can actually identify, okay, the actors inside your statements. Okay, nothing but entities inside your statements, and these entities can be location, entities can be date, time, okay, coordinates, pin code, okay, city names, country names, okay, organization names, okay, sometimes a person names. Okay, all these are entities, and that can be identified using the concept of named entity recognition. Okay, so see, these concepts are like, basics, okay, pretty basics of natural language processing. Okay, here we haven't written, large chunks of code to understand what is what. Okay, we did not write large chunks of code to understand what is what. Okay, but we have understood that these are the concepts. Okay, so for example, when you have some statements, you are supposed to convert that into tokens. So once you get tokens, okay, you can use some string operations over that. Okay, you can use some string operations over that, and you can perform some regular expressions over that. Okay, you can use some regular expressions over there to identify. For example, you have got tokens, now you perform some regular expression over these tokens. Okay, and in the regular expression you have mentioned like zip code. A zip code is basically a 5-digit character string, okay, or a 5-digit string basically. Okay, so now you run this regular expression of zip code over the tokens that you get. Now, if it is a match, it will try to return you the zip code or the index of it, so you can go back and get the list. Okay, if it doesn't return, that means the zip code is not given in the address. As simple as that. Okay, so this way tokens are useful. Okay, this way tokenization and string operations are useful. And at a case, you want to identify the parts of speech of it. Okay, you want to identify the parts of speech. Now you go back and apply POS stacking over there, or you apply lemmatization over that. You try to get the base form of the word and the parts of speech of that particular word. Okay, now you can start analyzing. Okay, once you get this particular thing, you can perform something called as TF-IDF. Okay, TF, term frequency by inverse document frequency. Okay, so what happens over here is you try to get the context of these particular statements using this TF-IDF now. Okay, what does this term frequency and document inverse frequency do? It actually tries to get the context. So for example, I'm listening to music is one particular statement. Okay, and you have another statement called I love dancing. Okay, I'm listening to music and I love dancing. Now you try to compare both of these statements and try to understand whether these statements make a match or not. Okay, using this principle of TF-IDF. Okay, so listening is the word when you take. Okay, and compare this particular listening with other statement called I love dancing. Okay, it doesn't match basically. Okay, but if you find if you find a statement like I love dancing, then you can I listen to music while I'm dancing, or I dance for I listen to music while I'm dancing. If that is the statement, then probably the base form of listening can actually connect with I listen to music while I'm dancing. Okay, now both these statements are somehow interrelated. Now you can try to derive a context upon that. Okay, so this way you can actually get to an approach of building a natural language processing tool or an algorithm based upon natural language processing. Okay, so this is treat this as a level 0 session. Treat this as a level 0 knowledge for you getting into natural language processing, and probably there are a lot more sessions that are planned for us for talking about natural language processing, going in depth and writing our corpus, and trying to train our algorithms and all. So there are a lot of sessions planned further. We will keep you updated on that. So meanwhile, if any questions, yes, you're good to answer. We have like 4 more minutes left until the scheduled time that I've given. You may keep asking me a lot of questions now. In the sentiment analysis, I've heard that first step is tokenization, stemming, etc. Can you briefly explain what is the second step? Sentiment analysis is about identifying the negated words, basically. What are the negated words inside that particular statement? And from there, we need to pick up. Okay. Probably the answer for this statement is not like do stemming or do tokenization and all. It's a process. Okay. You need to identify what are the negated words. For this also, you are supposed to perform TF-IDF principle. Okay. Go search for TF-IDF. In sentiment analysis, you'll find like literally a lot of blogs. Okay. And that particular blogs will, that TF-IDF principle will itself tell you whether, the sentiment of that particular statement. Okay. Depending upon the keywords present inside it, it will help you get that. Yes. Any more questions? So we will send you the PPT and this particular document as well, this Jupyter notebook as well. So you may go through and understand. You can get back to us for if you have any questions and all that. Can you please mention any course that includes NLP from basics to advanced? Yeah, you can actually go to Udemy. You have a lot of courses. You can go to Coursera. You have a lot of courses courses over there in Udemy or Coursera. They are like very, very good actually. So I recommend them if you plan to go from basics to advanced. So assuming no questions, I'm chatting out the email ID. If you have any questions, probably you may reach out to this particular email ID, savvy@bytes.com, and it's AAV here. Ignore the first email. Second email is the correct one. You may reach out to us over there, and thank you so much for your time. Anything you can reach out to me over that particular email. And thank you so much, Wave team, Paresh and Shweta, for helping us in the last minute and getting all this done. Thank you so much. And yeah, we will sign off today. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for this session, Trilok.
Thank you.
As mentioned, if you have any queries, you can reach out to us or the email ID mentioned. For the recording of the webinar, you may be like checking the same 13x page in a day or two. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for stopping.